let's look at for loops. For loops are also known as counting loops because they allow us to repeat code for a number of times, usually counting up or down until we reach a certain number. So here I have an example where I'm trying to draw a bunch of concentric circles, and I'm repeating the code, and you can see that I'm just increasing the size each time. There's a mathematical pattern there, and I could just create some variable I and start it out at 1 and then increment that I variable each time to make it a multiple. So here I is 2. Here I is incremented, so I is 3. And here I is 4 because we're incrementing it each time. So I could use that I to make my ellipse code use the same details each time for drawing. So now all the lines say I times 100, but because I'm incrementing I each time, then this time it's drawn with the size of 200, 200, and when I becomes 3, it's drawn with 300, 300, and when I becomes 4, it's drawn with 400, 400. So now we have a situation where we're actually just repeating some code, and when we're repeating code, we can use a for loop. It starts out with the keyword for, and then in parentheses, we're going to define our loop, and then in the curly braces, it's everything that's going to execute inside the loop. So what do we want to execute inside the loop? Well, we want to draw the ellipse. So let's put our ellipse command in there. So now, inside our loop, we're going to draw our ellipse multiple times. Well, what do we need inside our parentheses? Well, we actually have 3 things inside our parentheses. It's going to be our initial condition, and then we're going to follow that with a semicolon. Say, okay, I'm done with the initial condition. Then it's going to be the test condition. That's going to say, if this is true, keep executing all the statements inside the loop. And last of all, it will be our change, our statement to change the value of the initial condition, or frequently we just use an increment. What's our initial condition up here? Well, it's that I is set to 1. That's our initial condition. So let's create a variable I and set that I equal to the 1. Now, how we want to keep going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 times. So while I is less than or equal to 4, we want to keep drawing ellipses. And then how are we changing I? We're incrementing it. And how do we increment I? We just use this I++. Let's put in the I++. Okay, now we don't see any difference yet because we're drawing our concentric circles twice. So let's comment out our first set, and we can do that with a /* that says open my comment, or do not execute anything in here until you reach the */. So this essentially says do not execute any of this code. And so now instead we have this for loop executing the code. So for some variable I starting at 1, while I is less than 4, draw the ellipse, and keep incrementing. So let's delete this out just to make sure you can see it's gone. Okay, let's step through exactly how the loop works. We start out, and this initial condition is only executed once. I is set to 1. So I has value of 1. Now we go through here and we draw our ellipse. Okay, it's at the center, and I is 1, so it's of size 100, 100. We get to the end of our curly braces, and that's going to say, okay, now go ahead and change the value of I. Increment that by 1, which changes I from the value of 1 to 2. So now I has the value of 2. We step into our code here to execute, and we're drawing the ellipse at the center again, but now the size is 200 by 200. When we reach the end of the curly brace, we come back and we execute this incrementer, and now I has the value of 3. Okay, is 3 less than or equal to 4? Yes, it is. So we keep repeating, and we come back up, and now it switches to 4. Is 4 less than or equal to 4? Yes, it is. So we execute the loop again. And then we come up and increment. Now it's 5, and we check the condition. Is 5 less than or equal to 4? No, it's false now. So that means we jump to the ending brace and then continue executing code here, and we've exited our loop.